love that song. Always a great way to start off a show. Mr. Mills, thanks again for being here for the next hour to talk about the world of finance and other things that are going on. But hey, we got an hour. Time's going to go by quickly. So the real key is we're going to talk about financial world, looking at real estate world, looking about what's happening in this U.S. economy and what's really the next step. Where should people be putting their money if they're interested in real estate, investments, and other things? And then we'll tell them how to do it, and we'll even make the announcement where they can reach us if they wanted some answers to some other questions a little bit later before we close. So, Mr. Mills, give me a little information about you. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you make it happen?
What do I do and how do I make it happen? Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to educate on the financial field. I want to say more the real estate field. I'll leave that the financial field to you. On the real estate field and try to get that people know what's going on in today's market. Because today's market, it's a little crazy. It's going back and forth. But let's figure out. Let me say who I am. I am a CEO of Mills Realty. My office is on the north side of the city, and I've been doing this for the past 32 years.
Okay.
I have a brokerage up in Rogers Park, and so people can always get a hold of me by just Googling me. I'm all over there. Go to millsreal.com and find me.
Got it. So again, we'll be getting back before we close to give people information, a number or something, email, or how they can reach you. But the key thing I wanted to try to get out on your side today is that right now we got rates. Basically, the Federal Reserve is trying to play with money to say, hey, how easy are we going to make it for you to buy a house? Right now, the Fed's been raising rates, trying to keep what they say inflation in check, and making it very difficult for people to buy homes because rates are going up now. I just got a report saying the average person is going to have a $2,000 a month rental rate if you're getting out there trying to rent someplace to live. Not an easy thing to do.
No. Well, let's get an overview. Let's start with an overview of the market today, as opposed to where it was a couple of months ago. So 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months. I mean, things were really going well in the real estate industry. When I say that, value is up, and value is still up, by the way, but we'll get back to that. People were making a lot of offers. I mean, sometimes you walk into the market and you look for a home, and people are literally writing their offer right outside. They go into a home, they like it, they come back to their car, they write an offer, they get it in. Some people were not even coming to see the house. They turn around and says, I like the house, I like the square footage, I like this. Here's my offer. Not a great thing to do, but a lot of folks were doing that. Coming to today, the market is a little bit, for the buyers, a little bit slower. When I say that, we came through a point where we had very short inventory. I mean, and that's when people were writing many offers. And then the inventory was really down 2 months. I mean, really, really short. And we're coming through that point where not a lot going on, right? But buyers, there's still an abundance of buyers. And it all stems from COVID. I'm going to take you back a little bit just to kind of bring you back forward in that right when COVID, when everything shut down was March of 2020, a lot of panic, even in the real estate industry, right? There's panic. But what happened, what we found out is that people went home and realized their home is too small, right? So we found ourselves very busy. People trying to get out. My home's too small. I need an office. I need this. I need that. And so back then in 2020, I mean, it was crazy because prices just shoot up because there's so many buyers. Yeah. And of course, people were buying 10%, 15%, 20% over market value, over price, right, which was a little crazy, but it was happening, right? So as COVID really sets in, you had that massive amount of buyers who realize they need a new home, they need to update their home, they need whatever. Now you move forward to today, whereas the inventory got short because people realize, okay, I've bought or I'm not going to sell, but move it a little bit further, move the goal a little bit further, and now we have interest rate hikes. Now at interest rate hikes, which is, I looked at like 6.1, 6.2 today. People are saying, I'm not going to sell my house. Because now, for me, being in the business a while, I need to kind of round it off. Because when I first get into the business, rates were 10, 12%,
Okay.
right? That's in the 1990s,
Okay, we had
89, 90, right?
Yeah.
And before that, it was 19%, right?
right.
So in the 1990s, people were buying at 10%, 10.5, 11%. It was no problem.
Yeah.
But we've gotten so used to this 2.5 and 3 and 3, and that now it's at 6. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we got a problem.
Yeah, people are the Fed trying to change the economy to make sure that we have a solid economy, we have the employment rates that are still good. And right now, we have an issue where right now we have a supply and demand issue. Right now, rates are going up. So right now, that's going to shorten the availability of people willing to buy at these higher rates.
Well,
So
of
that's
course,
what's happening.
yeah.
So the question I have to you right now is, individuals who are going to be watching this program, what do you tell them? Hey, do I need to get a place to live right now? Should I rent? Or should I just stay and say, hey, I'm going to live with mom. I don't need to look at doing something like buying a home.
So if you're going to rent, in the Chicago market, rents are escalating. Rent are really going up in Chicago markets. As a matter of fact, I've seen it every day. You get a one bedroom at $1,100. You used to get a one bedroom at $900. Now it's or $800. Now it's $1,100. So if you're going to be in the market, I still encourage people to buy because 6.5%. You could always refi later. Now imagine you paying $1,100 a month or $1,200 a month for a one bedroom. And I'm talking north side of the city. You get a little bit cheaper on the south side of the city, right? Now think about buying a home. It's amazing that you can take almost the same thing, even though prices are going up, you're pretty close to buying a home with the rental you're paying. So if you're out there and you're thinking, okay, should I buy, should I rent? I encourage people to rent when I know it's right for them. But if I know that you can take the same $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a month and put it into a home, absolutely I'm gonna tell you to buy. Even though rents are at 6%, rates are about 6.1. Today's rate.
Right.
That can change back and forth. I would say go ahead and buy because of course look at the advantage of buying, than giving someone $12,000 per year or $13,000 per year. So my advice regarding your question, is it better to buy or is it to rent? It's still a great time to buy. Now, I'm going to say why it's a great time to buy.
And
There's a twist to it to the first time buyer because what's happening now, properties are now being on the market longer. So when it's on the market being longer now, it's a better negotiating tools for a seller if they can afford it. All right. So my thing would be, if you're planning to buy, look at property now.
because I asked that question also because I have a dichotomy of different types of people. I got younger buyers, I have middle-aged buyers, and I have older buyers. For my retired marketplace, these are people that have their homes. They have $200,000-$300,000 homes that they have to say, am I going to downsize now and go someplace else, maybe pick up a rental, go down to Florida or Miami or something of that nature? It's possible, but the real question right now is, what are your needs right now? I only need so much. And right now, I had this home for the last 30 years. So right now, I'm in a transition period right now. So what's my next step?
So like say, you said it, it all depends on your needs. It all depends on what you really want and how you're going to get there. If you're retired, getting retired, and you need to go now, there's still buyers out there. Keep in mind, the fact is, the average price in the Chicago land area is about $325,000, right?
Okay.
It dropped from $350 to $325, so it's not that far off, and depends on your property location, and depends on the actual the condition. You can still probably get close to what you're asking for your property. As a matter of fact, some sellers are still getting what they're asking.
Okay.
I don't see them going over a lot within the past 2 months. I don't see that, but I see 99% asking prices to still get them. Depends on where you are.
Yeah, location is always going to be the key.
Locations go, right? So depends on where you are in Chicagoland area. Yeah, you're still getting value. I mean, pricing hasn't dropped that much.
Yeah, now I get clients that ask, is now the time? Because right now I have interest rates that are starting to go up through the roof. I have people that have these properties that are trying to get rid of them right now, and it's taking longer and longer for them to get these off the books. So, question, can I get a better price if I just wait before I do anything?
Again, I'll come right back to what you say, but it depends on your needs. If you're looking to, if you have inventory you want to unload, yes, you have to take into consideration the actual market, the rates, very important. If you're at the higher end, we don't see a problem right now at the high end.
Okay.
If you're buying 500,000 plus, it's still pretty good because a lot of times these 500,000 plus are cash buyers, especially homes, not so much commercial, but homes. So if you're looking at 500,000 plus, you're still good.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't affect. You got to remember something. The higher end buyer is not affected as much as the 200,000 or the 300,000 buyer.
Okay.
It's not affected that much. Even though rates are higher, they don't care as much because they have more liquid cash.
Got it. So that's the picture that I'm also setting. The average retiree right now is sitting on probably a $400,000 home that right now, if they want to get out of it and they're looking, where am I going to go to retire? I do searches for clients, and we say, hey, what's going to be your next location? Are you going to go maybe to South America to live? Are you going to go to Italy and live? Or are you going to still stay in the same neighborhood because you want to watch your grandkids grow up and you want to do these things in your area? So right now, you got to make that decision. So it takes some time because you got to plan out what are the steps that you want to be in. And you want to be near your family, how much you want to have to pay, and question of life. Right now, what are you projecting your lifestyle? Am I going to live to maybe be 70, 80 years old? And right now, I'm 60? Well, hey, I still got another 20, 30 years to try to plan for the next few years. So the question is my lifestyle, real estate, and how I want to be in it. Then the question also, do I want to buy real estate and have it start to produce for me? Because I can actually buy some real estate and have it pump out a lot of money for me. And a lot of people are trying to understand, can I do this? Is it that hard, or is it something that makes sense?
All right, so you had a lot of questions in there.
But we only got so much time.
So you're trying to get everything in, right? Yeah. You're trying to get all your questions in, but it's okay. Let me try to answer some of your questions because you had like a whole bunch of questions in there.
Okay.
All right. First things first. You're a retiree. It depends on lifestyle. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to do beach? Do you want to do farm? Do you want to do, you know what I'm saying? So that, or you want to stay where your grandkids are. So the question is lifestyle. Where would you want to live? You as a retiree, I would not tell you you need to go to Florida, Arizona. I mean, you may not like the heat. You know, you may want to go to, someplace where it's cold up north in Seattle.
Hey, I'm going to Hawaii.
Or that's good. That's great too. But you can think about that and says, listen, it all depends on lifestyle. Yeah. Now, and then you as a retiree, you got to figure out what does it cost? What is my money going to get? I mean, if you live in Chicago, you want to go to San Francisco, hey, you're not getting a whole lot, right? Because San Francisco is pretty expensive.
Yeah, and a lot of people are coming from San Francisco back to Chicago.
So I'm saying it depends on lifestyle. So you're looking at where do you want to live? So you really got to look at what your monthly budget is. And you really got to look at that. And you got to make sure that you're saying, okay, from my Social Security, I'm bringing in $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month, whatever that is. If I sell my house, I'll realize a $400,000 gain or a $300,000 gain. Depends on if it's a husband and wife, the taxes. There's certain things that you got to realize. If it's one person and you're realizing a gain of over $250,000, then of course you got to pay taxes on it. Two people is $500,000.
Then you definitely talk with your accountant or your tax person because you do have some exemptions if this is your primary home right. And you did it at one-time sale.
So you have to look at, to give advice to retirees, you got to go ahead and say, hey, where am I going to live?
Okay.
Right? If you're going to rent a place, what kind of rental? If you're going to buy a place, how much money am I having? So it's not a one question you could ask. You know what I mean? There's so much. You sit with your accountant and budgets and all that good stuff. Then you can look at, one of the other questions was, do I want to pump out cash? Do I want to pump out get a multi-unit so that you can get some. Now that's a great idea, but it's kind for me. It's kind of it's a two-edged sword when you're dealing with property investment and you're dealing with and you as a person don't have the ability, because for me as a licensed property manager, I see a lot of things going on in rentals, and so for me to tell a retiree we're gonna go ahead and buy this multi-unit unless that retiree has someone that's going to take care of it.
Got it.
If he or she got someone who's going to take care of it, I'm all for that.
What's the average price I'm going to have to pay for a property manager?
That everything's negotiable. That's real estate, man. It's all negotiable. Depends on where it is.
Typically, I've heard that probably 10% of revenue might be a normal
That's
fee.
That's an average, but everything is negotiated. Depends on what you got to do.
Okay.
Because you go into some property, it's tore up, and it's like 10% ain't gonna cut it.
Okay. So
Right.
that kind of hits that one head. One, boom. I'm a retiree. You got to look at your budget. You got to look at location, and you got to look at what you desire lifestyle.
Lifestyle is the most important thing.
Key points I think we want everybody to remember, at least to put those on the table when we're talking about making that transition. Now, let's look at the new person coming to the market now. I got a job. I'm making $50,000 a year now. I got a school, and I'm comfortable. And right now, I got to say, how long do I want to stay in this place? Where do I want to go? And I want to pick up some babes. You know, we're going to have a party every night and be able to go football game all the time. So that lifestyle is a little different. Because right now, I got to look at my sevens. I got to look at my budget. What do I have out here? And what is the step? Do I really, am I a good manager? Do I definitely take care of my money and make sure dollars are there? Can I make the 10 or 20% down payment? Or do I want to live in a place where I'm basically living rent-free, have other people paying the cost for this?
Well, as a new as a young person, back to back to lifestyle and how do they want to be at the ball game all the time? Do they want to be at or are they a suburban person who said, hey, you know what, I like cutting the yard and planting grass and all kind of good stuff. So yeah, that all depends. Now, should I say as a young person, should I buy a property? I mean, it really depends on your job. I mean, that's a great thing to figure out. Okay, I have a part-time job, or I just moved into this hospital. Do I plan on staying here 5 years? Do I plan, yeah, I could see myself staying here 5 years. It makes sense to do that, to say, let me go ahead and purchase this home. Now, if you're looking at, listen, this job is a pit stop, I need to be in California by next spring, then you rent for a year, or something like that.
And do you feel if they are taking that step, it's like I'm choosing rental, is a 1-year lease?
Yeah.
Or I've been people talking about 2-year, and some people even say that a 3-year lease on the table. Does that make any sense?
Well, for owners it makes sense.
Yeah.
And for a renter, if they know their stability, then it makes sense, because then they don't have to do it. Because there's not a possibility. But if the owners will give a 3-year lease, then you want to have some concession. Listen, I'm going to be here for 3 years, so that I need 2 months off.
Right.
Or I need...
Because I asked that question because I have some clients who are actually work in the medical world. A few nurses, actually, they had pushed out all different parts of the country, and they have to take leases where they have some flexibility, where they can say, I need to get out of here because I may get called to spend the next 6 months in San Francisco.
Well, I say that for nurses and doctors and all, these guys... I would encourage anyone to take a lease, a 3-year lease, unless they're stable and know they'll be here for 3 years or 5 years, because that's just kind of, not great. As a matter of fact, if they plan on being here, there's all kinds of loans available, professional loans that you can say, you know what, and even if they just came in, there's banks that do professional loans where once you come in, and you'll be here, you can actually buy a home. Right? Even though you have not gotten those 2 or 3 years experience or taxes, because of the fact that you've been so long in school, just go ahead and buy. I encourage buying because look at the fact that, let's say a professional comes in at $150,000, single, came out of school, they're making 180, 190, or whatever they're making, 100,000.
Is it female? Female
man. Whoever it is comes in, you're looking at a personal tax implication of not having any especially if there's no kids and that kind of stuff. I mean, you don't have anywhere to hide your money. I don't want to say hide. That's not a great word, but any tax deduction, right?
And real estate again also provides some great tax deductions.
Absolutely. So a young person coming in, and I've encouraged many. As a matter of fact, I've sold a couple of young folks who are in the medical field homes because they're like, man, there's a lot of tax. I don't have any way to get a tax break. So that's one of the things I encourage young people to say, hey, and when you leave from here, I mean, usually it depends on the neighborhood you're at. You will have appreciation in your home. So why not just buy the home, get the appreciation? If you're here 5-6 years, you sell it, you make your money, you go. Then just give someone $100,000 or $200,000 and just rent.
Yeah,
Doesn't make sense.
Just following the normal volume. Real estate has been one of the best investments that people have had since this country started.
Exactly.
It's a format. It's not going to stop. But I do have some questions on that. Right now, we have an economy right now that's going through some bangs, ups and downs. And right now, we got a market right now today. It's depleting substantially. Right. But my question is, are we going to hit a bottom where people are going to say, hey, just take the home? People start to give away the house and say, look, you take this because I don't want this headache anymore. And people can pick these things up for pennies.
All right. So that's an interesting question. Because with my experience and being in this industry so long, I got to take you back to 2008.
Okay.
Now, this is really cool. And for those who's watching, this is very important. So, 2004, 5, 6, 7, as you can remember, they were giving away mortgages. I mean, it was 125% loans on a house. There was just interest on a house. You can buy a home and pay only interest. Bad loan, terrible loan. But a lot of folks were doing it. And people were buying their home with zero equity pre the crash, right? We agree on that. Okay, you remember that? That was crazy loan. You could be asleep and you get a loan. You're like, oh, you want a house? Here's a loan.
Here, sign off.
Just sign right here. The Frank Dodd Act changed all that, right? Congress did the Frank Dodd. Yeah, it's Frank Dodd Act.
It's Frank Dodd.
And change all that. Today, even though rates are going up, prices are not falling. When I say not falling, it's not falling like crazy, like you get pick up a condo for $15,000, $20,000. No, I don't see that. Now, what's happening is that because of the fact that the Frank Dodd Act came into law, people have to now have a better, and then another thing that came into law is a 4506T law, the IRS law, the IRS document. And for those who don't know that, what that is that years ago, the banks used to just do the loan and not check with the IRS to make sure that you actually made that money. Mm-hmm. Now, the 4506T form came into play after the crash. So whenever you purchase a home, the bank needed to send that document to IRS to say, did Mr. Blair actually made $50,000?
Right.
And so things like that changed. So what's happening now is today, people have more equity in their home and they don't have, so people, you remember, I'm not sure if you remember, it was called like the jingle keys, where back in 2009, 10, people were just mailing in their keys to the bank.
Yep.
I don't think we see that now.
Not yet.
Not yet, but within the near future, we don't see that. Not only we don't see that because the job market, as we know, is still. I mean, the Feds are trying to crash the economy to bring the inflation down, but we don't see that yet, or we don't see any indication of that yet, because there's still lots of jobs available.
Yep. Currently, that is the case.
Currently, even though they're trying to crash that, we don't see it. But I think what happened because of the fact that people have spent so much time and energy and building the equity in their home, I don't think we'll get to a position where we were in 2008, where we turn around and say, oh my gosh, let's pick up this home for $30,000. I don't see that.
Okay, I got it. That's an issue. I asked that because clients ask me, what's going to happen with this market here over the next 10, 15, 20 years? Right now, we had some issues because the economy is definitely going some up and down cycles. That's just the way things work. There are cycles, and right now we're at a cycle right now where real estate, again, has been on a good ride. And just like the markets, they've been on a great ride. But the question is, things go up and things come down.
Correct.
And that's, again, the process. I try to let clients know that you got to keep your eye on what's really happening. I got two issues that we talked.
Hold on. I want to get to those two issues, but I think it goes up and it goes down, of course. But right now, I see more of a stable to a slight dip, but not a massive dip.
Okay.
Right? So equity is still there.
Got it. So that's one that you'd say. We talked about people who are about to get out and retire. We talked about people who are starting. We put those things on the table. Another thing that's thrown to me on the table also is my parents. We got their property right now, and they're sitting on a lot of equity, but right now they're in the hospital. They're not really looking to do anything else, but we have to decide, what do we do with this real estate that right now we're hopefully going to inherit, but right now we got to make sure we're doing the right thing for these assets right now that are being held by our parents. What do you tell them?
Well, first of all, is it in a trust? Okay, that's very important.
What is a trust?
Well, it's an instrument that holds the property. Whether it's called a living trust or whatever trust. So, and I probably want to get you to explain that if you want to do that. But it's important that if your parents are still alive, you put your home in a trust so you don't get the tax implication, right? Because if you don't do that, I would tell anyone, create if there's an elderly out there and you have assets, seek your attorney, seek the advice. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but seek your advice of attorney, and put your property in some kind of living trust so that can be passed on to your children with no issue. So that's the first thing I would do. What you do with it after that is up to you as the executor of the trust, but put it in the trust. Talk to your attorney. Ask them what to do.
What's the best option?
What's the best option?
Yeah, because that's a big question.
You don't want to. I want to say that because it's important. You don't want to pass on your property and not take care of it, because then now you get to probate and you get to this court and that court, and then you really put your children in a whole bunch of the tax implication of that is crazy.
A continuous problem. Again, I work with a number of clients. They have the situation with parents, and just since we're on the air, right now in the state of Illinois, people who do not have a will have an issue, because 50% of your assets, since you don't have a will go to the state of Illinois. And I'll repeat that. If you are in Illinois and you die, you do not have a will, 50% of your assets will transfer to the state of Illinois. So first thing you guys got to do is definitely get a will. Also, with the issues with parents and looking at transfers, a trust, definitely something you want to look at. And wealth transfer, if you want to make this happen, the only way to transfer wealth from your children, their children, and the future to come, you want to have this set up so there is wealth transfer in your family. Because there's been so many mistakes that people just don't know about. And it kind of saddens me, because I'm trying to say, hey, I try to help you manage your money. That's what I do every day. And I'm trying to tell you some things, and you don't listen to me. So I can only make the recommendations, but I can't force you to do the right thing.
Well, and some people, they're scared. They're scared to transfer. They're scared to. That's why I say live in trust, because it could be changed. Yeah. Right. Some people are scared to put their assets in their children's name. That's why, again, live in trust. Remember, I said live in trust. If the kids aren't doing right, you can always make a change. So, and like you said, the word you used was wealth transfer, and that's very, very important. A lot of us do not do that, and that's crazy that you would have a trust for your kids, a trust for your, but that's based on education too, Mr. Blair. That's based on education. It's as simple as, I've had people come to me and they look at me and say, well, we're looking at, we want to rent a home. And our case in point, had a girl from, had a client from CTA,
Okay.
making good money. Want to rent a home for $2,000 a month. What? You work for the Chicago Transit, and you're making X amount of dollars, and you want to pay $2,000 a month. How's your credit? It's okay, I pay my bills, but it's just education. It comes down to a point of me sitting with her and says, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a waste of money. You know what I'm saying? That's like blowing, what, $24,000 a year? So I basically, my job, a lot of times I find my job in our community, I find that I have to educate. And I'm passionate about that. I educate my client when they come to me and say, hey, I want to rent. I'm like, why? Okay, so why do you want to rent? If they need to, I've taken people from rental to purchase. And I work with them, it's about a year and a half. I'll say, okay, now you're ready. But that comes to education and people taking the time. Back to trust. It's just the education that a lot of us don't have.
Right. And that's, again, a process that we're doing now. That's why I like to come on CAN TV to educate people to say, hey, these are the things that you should know.
Yeah.
Some education that we could point out and have you, not that you're necessarily going to guarantee to understand and read about what we're talking about, but this is information that you can always get. You can go on Google. You can go to the libraries. You can understand and learn more about this. But these are some things that are going to impact you, your children, and your family if you don't do it the right way.
Yeah, of course.
We're just trying to get the points on the table.
Listen, it is important, and I can't stress that enough, to get a trust, get an investment, get some kind of instrument, right, that you can pass on. Some kind of instrument that says, when I pass on, this belongs to my children. And the government can't dip their hands in it, right? Right. So
Uncle Sam can't touch it.
Uncle Sam can't touch it, right? So you got to have some, but when it comes to if you're gonna, and I want to just continue with the downsizing. If you're gonna be downsizing, you got to get a broker who understands what you want. Because I always want to come back to that, because don't get a broker that's gonna transition you, whether it's from Illinois to Wisconsin to Indiana. But a broker who will see you through. Very important. You got to have a broker with some experience to say, let me connect you with my team in Atlanta.
Okay.
All right? Some brokers do, some brokers don't. But if you're planning transition, call a broker who has that. I mean, I do it all the time for my clients to transition them, whether it's New York, Florida, Atlanta. I mean, I transition a lot of people.
And that's something you can do for them.
Absolutely. But I need to know where you want to go. Or I'm not licensed in Florida or Atlanta, but I have teams of people that can say, how about if you want to transfer to wherever, this zip code, let me call somebody down there. And the people that I'm going to call is people who I know has been in the business for a while, that is trained and have a really good, background in real estate, not just the newbie. Not that newbie is bad, because we love newbies in the business,
Okay.
but someone, especially someone elderly who has to transfer, yeah, we can do that and transfer you with no problem.
Got it. Because those are the points, wanted to, at least for the short time that we have left, we talked about the beginner getting out. We talked about the retiree and looking at the mid-market right now, which is still a big population that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting killed because I get calls all the time about what do I do? I refer people to you to say, hey, how do I transfer this money? Or what do I do with the real estate that's going on right now? It's a lot of things to really understand. Again, I try to say, well, you're a University of Chicago guy. You get all this information. It's like, no, the University of Chicago can only do so much for you. I can't transfer it. I can't do an email and get that into your information. But there's a lot of data that you can pull from the web, from other sources, and I have clients all around the country. So the issue is, what's going to be better here or there or someplace else? That's another question I get asked right now, because people are looking, where do I retire? What's going to be the best thing for me to do? Do I go to South America or do I go to Europe? I got to be able to tell them that. Can you do that?
We came full circle. So, first of all, I'm going to answer one of the questions you have within that question. That's about the mid-market. Right now, the mid-market is being squeezed. all right? And that's a fact. When I say the mid-market, anywhere from 100,000 to 300,000.
Okay.
That market is so much tighter than the high-end market, which I think I explained that earlier. Because of rate, because of job, even though there's lots of jobs out there, the mid-market is being squeezed. It's been kind of like tight. When I say that, there's buyers out there, not as much sellers. Well, let me say, the sellers are coming back a little bit better. But right now, today and last month, they've been squeezed a little bit in prices and inventory. All right. I mean, just today before I left the office, I'm talking to a guy at 500,000 cash. You're like, hey, no problem. We'll do 500,000 cash. That's fine for the hiring. So, where to retire, man? That's weather. That's, if somebody wants to, live in Boca Raton or somewhere.
Okay.
Again, I can transfer them to someone in that area. I mean, I have a team all over the U.S. I'm part of a team that's all over the U.S. So no matter where you want to be, I can do that.
Okay. So the question right now, we're talking about the markets, the different types of real estate. We talked about the future of real estate. And I guess the last question that I would have for a lot of people is, where do I go today? What do you see for the next 5 to 10 years in the real estate market?
Well, let me say, this is a complicated question, man. This is
Hey, that's what we're supposed to be doing here.
it's like you have this forecast, where do let me tell you what I see. As I look forward to dealing with other individuals, I look forward to the market. Do I see a massive crash? Not really, not yet today, right? I see, on a whole in real estate, I see property dipping, not as far as it was. I also see a much higher rental market, right? I see because if people decide if it comes to a point where we are losing a home, because, I mean, prices only went down a little bit, I see a higher rental. I see people people with money buying more. I don't see a conversion of condos. I don't see lots of major development like years ago. You turn around this brand new home. So I'm just trying to give you a total overview of the market. The commercial market is somewhat, I'm not going to say stagnant, but it's moving really slow. The commercial brokers, it's not flying off the handles. Real estate market is moving a little faster, but I see it slowing down a little bit for a minute before it picks back up.
Okay.
All right. So there's lots of different things that are lots of different balls that are moving here, but it's a matter of me or the real estate industry kind of changing along with what's happening here in order to keep moving and in order to give good advice to the buyer, to the seller. We as professionals keeping abreast of what's happening, whether it's the feds or we're on the ground where we're seeing things happening and where people are going, for us to give really good advice to say, I don't think you should buy, or I think you should buy. Right now, I don't see any major crash.
Got it. And here's a question that came down the pipes also. I got $20,000. Brother has $50,000, and mom has $100,000. In the real estate market, where would you tell them to allocate this dollars?
Well, that's all depends on age and who they are. However, now it depends on life and how long. I mean, you got $170,000. It'd be a great investment for a multi-unit for mom and for everybody to live, right? Not only that, but if it's a 3-unit and you guys are living in one, you can rent the other 2 units and live for free.
Okay.
Right? Why not do that? Why not get a 3-unit and then turn around and say, hey, you know what? I get 2 tenants. Not a bad idea, right? I mean, This is just an idea. I mean, to take that and put that into a home, it's kind of like, okay, you put in a home, but then your money's locked up, which some people prefer that, and some people don't want to talk about the tenants. They don't want to deal with the tenants. But you can turn around and say, now, depends on that person. I'm gonna give you another idea, because I mean, you have $180,000. You could take that $180,000 and triple 4 times the $180,000. You can take that, buy a home, you live in it, buy another home. So you can use 20% down, 20% down.
You can continue that spiral.
And you can continue that for a while, and you're worth $1 million.
And it can happen. It's not an undoable thing to do.
No.
I gave that mix because some clients that try to decide, and I do these seminars for people trying to tell them what to do with money. I do stocks, I do the bonds, I do all the other related items. And real estate is one I tell them always something you want to get into because it's something that is definitely long lasting and it gives reasonable returns. If I go over the last 100 years, I can give you an average return in the securities area, roughly using the S&P, I can give you an average of about a 10% rate of return on an annualized basis using S&P. But real estate, again, with the tax deductions that I get and with the growth and appreciation,
Absolutely.
real estate has definitely been a great commodity for people to get into. So I guess all I want to say is you've heard this guy talk, and if you want to give him a call, how do they reach you, sir?
You can always go to my website at millsreal.com. That's millsreal.com. Call me Mills, or you can go to you can call me at the office 773-764-9547.
Got it. And for folks,
And just as another thing, we for those of you who follow me, you can go to the Mill Social Talk podcast. We have a podcast that we talk real estate all the time, every day. The Mill Social Talk podcast, and we're just a community that talks everything Chicago and real estate and finance. So that's a great place to connect with me also.
another way to connect. For me, it's easy. I can be reached at Blair Capital. That's 312-593-2062. I don't charge you. You're not going to be a billable hour to talk to me. You have questions, I'd love to answer. I do the seminars also. You can look from time to time. I'm here in Chicago, do the seminars here. And I also am involved with the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. We do different conferences. And even you can come on a boat cruise that we do from time to time.
Absolutely.
So you can get a chance to get on there and say, hey, let's just hang out and talk to these people. And you really want to get in a network where it's comfortable for you, where people are doing some things that you like. You want to understand what they're doing, and you want to see if you can get involved in this type of activity. So
Absolutely.
I think it makes sense. And I only apologize because we only have so much time, and I think we only have about a minute left on this scenario.
That's it.
And hey, you know how time runs out real quick when you're having fun. But I appreciate what you've tried to give to our people because right now, I only have to say, in the African American community, education is what we need.
Education, man.
And we need to use the education, and we need to make sure we understand.
Absolutely. And you know, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but so I want to encourage folks, if they want to know more about real estate, check out the Mill Social Talk podcast. I mean, I do a lot of things on real estate on the podcast. It's a real estate podcast, and if you want to know something, just reach out to me. And like Blair said, not going to charge you to reach out to me. It's not. There's no billable hours, as you said, right, Mr. Blair?
Hey.
There's no billable hours, but you can call me again at my office and 773-764-9547.
Hey, and that would do it, sir. I appreciate your time and the information that we're able to at least transfer. And you know that as you make that $1 billion run, we may not be able to catch you for the next show, but hey, we may be able to catch you. You'd be flying around the planet and saying, hey, you know, where's Mills? Well, you know, I got this new plane. I'm just trying to check it out. The guys in China called me up and said, can we do a real estate deal here? Well, that might be the next step.
Well, until the next step, let's